Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. I know these videos usually come out on Tuesday, but I can't put out a video this Wednesday, so we're going to talk about the rainbow chart today, and then we're going to talk about Bitcoin mining stocks tomorrow. I'll put out another video maybe Thursday or Friday. So let's get into it, and let's start off with crypto fear and greed. And as you can see, looks like we had a bottom in greed, possibly because in fear, because we are starting to make higher highs and higher lows. Now, for that to stay true, this would be the lowest low we would want to see on the fear and greed chart. Zooming out to the yearly, or at least in the last year, you can see we've been in this downtrend. We had that recent big sell-off. And so unless this breaks down, then this could possibly be an area for going up. Now, it is possible this could break down further and prices go down further. And there is more on the chart showing me that that might be a really good possibility. We'll get into that. But we do have fear in the markets. So some good dollar cost averaging scenarios will be playing out pretty soon. If we zoom way out, you can see we just recently had the largest base of fear underneath greed. We were going really high with Bitcoin there for a while. Things were doing well for a while. So now we are in somewhat of a corrective phase. So we'll see. We are in this downtrend. And once it starts reversing, going back up, of course, we'll be talking about that on this channel. But we are here for the rainbow chart video. And as you guys can see, and we can zoom in a little bit here, you can see that we have been in this green zone for quite a while, actually, ever since February of this year. Got up into the yellow zone in March. That was our last top in the new Bitcoin all-time high. And now we are slowly going back down into this zone, the accumulate zone, as they have it here in Blockchain Center. So we'll see if we do progress down further into there. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some possibilities for price targets that would go along with three of the main thesis I've seen out there for people. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's take a look at the alt season index, and something that is concerning to me, and this kind of goes with the fear and greed. Again, we want to look for opportunities when there's fear. And you can see here on the alt season index, we have been in this uptrend after breaking this downtrend. You can clearly see that right here, downtrend, uptrend. So we have higher highs, higher lows. Now for this uptrend to continue, this higher low has to continue. If you see this start to break down, then it is possible maybe we're going to be bearish just for a little while longer. Now, seasonality-wise, Bitcoin, crypto doesn't tend to do that well in August and September most years anyways. So do be on the lookout for that. And we'll take a look together at some possible bottoming indicators to see, again, where would be good areas to dollar cost average in, because sometimes that's my essential question when I watch a lot of crypto videos is now a good time to buy, or are we going up, down? What's the sentiment? What direction are we going? So I'll try to answer those essential questions. And let's get back into the chart. So recently, we have had this correction in Bitcoin. It was a week ago. The VIX, which is the volatility index for the markets. If you guys are living under a rock, you may have not heard that we had the highest spike in the VIX ever since COVID, and before that, the great financial crisis up here. So when the VIX spikes, those tend to be very good local bottoming times. Now, the markets overall, they really haven't sold off too much for how comparable the markets went down during these other two times. So medium long term, I am concerned about this, as maybe this is a warning shot before the true sell-off, because people have been talking about a recession for a while. I talk about this in my stock videos every week or every other week too. When the US 10-year, 2-year uninverts after a little bit, we tend to see a recession. So we have not had that big recessionary sell-off in the S&P yet. I mean, even this was, a lot of people say sort of the market's being priced in. And guys, the reason this is important for Bitcoin is obviously crypto is going to follow what the regular markets do as well. And for now, crypto, it isn't treated quite as like digital gold as people would like to believe. It's still a risky tech asset. So you do want to be careful and understand that, yes, we have all these good things like the ETFs and all that going on. But if the markets are going down, then crypto's going down. And that's just a fact. So just some things to be aware of. I'm not saying a recession's imminent. It might be a year or 2 years from now. And typically, before recessions happen, there can be a lot of profits made. Now, was that the top? I don't know. But we'll take a look and see on the charts. Again, do we have good value here or not? So there's a couple things here on the daily to notice. And, well, actually, we're on the weekly. Let's zoom in. So we had this big 30% sell-off, okay? I highlighted that in red because we had a couple of those back in 2019. And I've been wondering, are we having a similar mid-cycle top as we did back here? So Bitcoin, it made this top at around 1920K. And then it made a mid-cycle top around 14K, chopped around for a year, and then went up. But this was way before the halving. The halving is this vertical white line. But what you will see here is I wrote out first rate cuts. And that was right here, right before the top, or near the top, either way. And once we had rate cuts, there's a bit of a sell-off for a bit. And then once rates bottomed, that's when Bitcoin started going back up. So you can take a look at this area, March, April, May of 2020. Let's go over to U.S. interest rates, just compare that. And again, we're going back to 2019, right here, first rate cuts. I just talked about that, June, okay, June, right there. And then it bottomed in March 2020. After that, as I just showed you with Bitcoin, I have to go way back again. Where were we? My God. Back here, as you can see, March 2020, this is when rate cuts were bottoming, okay? So is the same thing going to happen again? Maybe. We'll see. But do be on the lookout for extra volatility because rate cuts are coming, because there's the election. It tends to be a volatile time into October most years anyways. And so we have the seasonality volatility, we have the election volatility, and we have the rate cut volatility. So there's a lot of volatility, and I know that's scary, and if it's too scary to invest, then I'd recommend, just seeing your financial advisor, which you should do anyways, not listen to a guy on YouTube. But you should play it safer if that is things that worry you. But if you do have extra money and you want to invest, again, I have some indicators here to look at to see if we can get some extra value. So Bitcoin, back here, I had 30% corrections. I don't count this one because that was the COVID correction. But just throwing on the moving averages, what I noticed that's kind of comparable for right now is after Bitcoin peaked, it came down to the 50, had a little bit of a rally, and then came down to the 100. Again, yes, it did come all the way down to the 200 because we had the COVID sell-off. And sure, if we get like World War III scares or things like that, then sure, of course, I could see that happening. But we have something similar playing out here. We have rate cuts probably coming around here in September. Okay, so again, not that the tops have to be within the same amount of time, but the tops are relatively close to rate cuts. So that's kind of curious. We have the 50, we just bounced off. So could we get to the 100 or the 200? Now, as time goes on, these price predictions, if you will, and I hate giving predictions, it's more of, in my opinion, what I want to share with you are things to be aware of in bearish and bullish scenarios. And we're going to start off with the bearish scenario first, okay? I'll talk about the bullish ones soon enough. But bearish wise, this will come up and it'll be near the 618 fib at 39K. And then the 100-week moving average, we have price action back here, and that's all around the mid 40s. Okay, we don't know if we're going to get a candle close or a wick down, kind of like what we just got. Even though we had a big sell-off, price has been staying within this high 50, low 60 range. Yes, we dipped all the way down to 50, but it has come up a little bit again. So just some things to be aware of if we go to the downside for the short to medium term. Now, on this chart, you'll see I have a new indicator down here. And there's a couple indicators that I like to look at to make sure I am not catching a falling knife. Of course, when you dollar cost average, and there's a couple ways to go about it. Maybe you say, you know what, I have $100. We're going to use a nice round number. I have $100. I like Bitcoin. Every month I'm putting it into Bitcoin. Okay, fine. If you want to increase your value, you might say, you know what, every month I'll save $100. And when Bitcoin when it gets to one of the lower moving averages, I will put in all that money, whether it's at the 100, the 200, I'll put in that money I've been saving. I won't put it in when it's extended, but when it goes down. Okay, that's fine. What is important to know about that, though, is you will sometimes miss these runs where if you're waiting for those moving averages, you might not come back down to it till it's at a much higher price. Look at that right there, around the mid 30s to 60,000. So, that is possible. And then, of course, we could then be in a bearish trend. Something I like to look for with indicators. I talked about the RSI last week. This one is called the stochastic RSI. And right now on the weekly, I like the larger time frames. On the weekly, it is bearish. We have the orange line. Every time the orange line is over the blue, you can see it's bearish. It's going down. But when it flips and the blue gets above the orange, those tend to be good value times to buy. Now, you're not going to hit the very bottom, every bottom, but you're going to get in on some pretty good opportunities. I wouldn't be buying here because how high it was anyways, but you could if you want to strictly stick to it. But do know, obviously, if you follow this rule completely, you might catch falling knives. And that's why I have moving averages here too. When we get under the 50 for most assets, that's when things flip bearish. Now, if you believe in something, then you could have the perspective of, hey, this has way more value right now. And yes, we might be bearish, go down a lot further, but I'm going to dollar cost average in more as we get more value. Sure. But you can take a look at the stochastic RSI and see that even on the daily, okay, this is something I've been concerned about. So on the daily, you would have had a good opportunity to get in down here for some good value, but it's already starting to roll over again. And we had Bitcoin encounter the 100 and the 50-day moving average, and it's already rolling over again. Now on the daily, are we getting a doji, or is this candle going to be more of I don't know what that's called, a hammer, if you will, and we might go down even further? Sure, maybe. But in my opinion, I am wondering if we're just getting a little correction. And then if we do make a higher low, then we can continue back up to this channel and challenge all these highs again, okay? So I've talked about the bearish scenarios for crypto, how to get in on some good extra value. Let's take off the stochastic RSI for a second. I like to add in, along with the stochastic RSI, one or two of my buy signals. That's UT bot alerts or 1020 MA crossover with Fibonacci signals. This one is more of a leading indicator. This one's more lagging. You will have more confirmation, more safety, be less prone to fake outs. On the daily, look, it says buy. Kind of went along with our stochastic RSI. On the weekly, though, nothing's been confirmed. We are still in a sell-off on the more macro signals. I like to take a look at the weekly, but hey, if you want to take a look at the daily, you will see there are times that we do go a lot lower if we are in a bearish trend. So if we are at a macro weekly bullish trend, then of course I think looking at the daily is fine. But if we do get under the 50 weekly, I would not be taking a look at those daily buy signals personally. Okay, so let's just mute those for a little bit. Now, bullish scenario, something to look at, is that Bitcoin has been following, let's put this back on auto, it's been following this trend line, hitting it, snaking around it, and we are underneath it a little bit. And so I am wondering how far away we are going to get from this trend line before eventually coming back to it. Now, I like to say trend lines and fractals are only good for as long as they're good for. I don't religiously follow them. It's just an additional indicator. But last week we talked about how we have four things showing convergence here around the 100K mark. One of them was when we take the average amount of days from a new all-time high, which was here, the CL line, to the next peak, and we can go to the rainbow chart, show that. So new all-time high was around here to the very peak, new all-time high to the very peak. When we take that average from all the cycles, our average is 300 days, which puts us at the end of this year. Okay, sure. Does that mean we are topping at that time? No. Every cycle, things are a little bit different. I use this more or less as a range. As you can see right here, there's an average of 484 days from the halving to the next peak. And so my idea is that we'll have a range in here. We'll see if that comes true or not. I don't know. But we have this trend line running into our average from new all-time highs to the next peak. Okay, they converge right here. Well, what else converges pretty close to there? If you draw a trend line from the two Bitcoin peaks in 2021, they also run into here, okay, around this 95, 100K range. Cool. Well, what else runs into there? If we start taking a look at Fibonacci price targets, if we break to new all-time highs, you can see we have another line converging there. We have the 1618 at around 100K, and it's all converging right here. And guys, I am not saying this has to happen, but I'm going to be very curious to see what happens at the end of the year. Whether we get here or all this convergence was complete nonsense. Again, we have all these patterns and things. The point in this direction does not mean it has to happen. But I am watching for it. And to me, those are some bullish indicators to look for. Okay, now let's go to the Bitcoin rainbow chart. And let's take a look at some of our zones. We're already at the middle end of this year. That's perfect. Let's take a look at some of the zones to see some possible price targets. Let me sip my coffee first. So if we were to stay in the accumulate zone, or heck, maybe not the accumulate zone, the still cheap zone, right? We've been in here since February. Maybe we get down to the accumulate zone. Let's pretend, or let's imagine, again, let's put on our bear hats, and we're going to be bearish until the end of the year. Rate cuts, yield curve inversion, recession, blah, blah, blah. We're going down, okay? Where would that range put us? Well, you can see the low would be, by the end of this year, 50,000. That's around where we just bottomed, all the way up to 85,000. So even if we were to get bearish, chopped sideways, we would still pretty much retain our value of our investment should we stay in these zones. And should you believe in the Bitcoin rainbow chart, okay, that these are better value zones. Of course, we have great value zones down here, which we rarely dip into. Though, again, going back to 2019, look at that. When we had that COVID sell-off, we did dip into it. No, I'm not saying we are going to. We would probably need a big scare, something like Russia, Iran, Israel, U.S. all going at it in the Middle East, something like that. But until that happens, that's just conjecture. We don't know if that stuff is going to play out or not. But anyways, going back to the chart, okay, January, that's fine. We're close enough. At the end of the year, 50K to 85K, roughly around there. Now, let's say our convergence theory is correct. From here, all these points converge. Let's say that's correct, okay? That we have all these points meeting right here. Where would that 100K mark put us? Well, that put us in the yellow zone, which would be the lowest zone that we've been in for a rainbow top. So that's curious to me right there. And you can see how over time that, we were above the max bubble territory back here in 2013. We were in that territory in 2017. We got down into the next lower territory in 2021 earlier. And then November of 21, we were down here. And so should that pattern continue, maybe we only get up into these zones and this one at best. Okay. Inversely, we talked about this. This was right after I started my channel. I was talking about with the rainbow chart how each halving, we moved up a zone. You see that right here. We moved up a color zone at each halving. And I was very curious. I said, we were like down here. I said, are we going to be in the still cheap zone? And then we were. We got above it and then we fell down into it. And so it's just a pattern. It doesn't have to mean it continues. But if it did, and we were in the yellow zone in 2028, you could see the rainbow chart saying 200,000 range right there. So that's if the rainbow chart continues, right? That we'd be up there. So going back to how we fall down a zone, let's take a look at, again, we went red, orange, light orange, red, or sorry, we went red, reddish orange, orange, light orange, red, reddish orange, orange. Okay, so I'm taking a look at these three as the target. If it's later this year, our range would be 85 to 185K. Now, is it going to go up to 185K at the end of this year? Maybe, maybe not. I do like the orange, the lower end of the orange prediction as my max bullish scenario if we get an early top. Again, this is my maximum bullish case price prediction if we get an early top. And the reason why, we have the 2618 Fibonacci level there at 150K. So again, if we top later this year and things are as bullish as they could be, this would be my maximum target. Now, we've just been talking about how we have all these convergences. Sure, that's true. But I'll tell you guys, after having lived through the last two bull cycles, nothing surprises me anymore. After living through 2017, 2021, they're crazy times. It's mass euphoria. You'd have to be there to believe it. And if you were there, you know that things can pop off. Okay. Now this is bullish scenario that's why I'm looking at 100K or 150K. Going back to the rainbow chart, again, later this year, 100K, 150K, that would put us in the yellow to the low end of the orange, which is what we were just talking about. We've gone from above the max bubble territory to the max bubble territory to this reddish orange zone to the orange zone. And so that's why, just as the base each halving has gone up once each cycle, we've been going down each cycle. And next, conservatively speaking, that's why I'm looking here in that light orange zone, which is still not bad. That's right between those two fib levels, 112 to 144K. That's right between them. And again, we don't know if Bitcoin is just going to momentarily have a God candle and wick up to 150K or 100K, whatever it is. But the way the base has been going up on the rainbow chart is kind of the same as how the tops have been going down on this rainbow chart. And someone brought this up before. There's the power chart. I think that shows exactly what we're looking at right here. It is a good indicator too, by the way, if you recommended that. Now, the other area to look for, or two areas, I'll say, because I talked about how we'll look at the price predictions. We have the average from halving to the next peak, which is around August. And then, of course, 4-year cycle, which should put us at November. Because again, we've had the top November 2013. We've had the top December 2017. We had the top November 2021. So if you believe 4-year cycle, let's go to November 25. Sometimes it takes a second. November 19th to 25. If rate cuts are to play out and give us a 2019 bearish style market, let's say for a year, but then after rate cuts bottom, which I would assume if we are going to have a big sell-off and rate cuts are going to bottom wherever they're going to bottom. We don't have to get into where they're going to go. 0-3%, separate conversation. This might give the markets enough time, might recover by the end of next year. Let's say the recession that's already started, we already topped, we're going down for a while, we're going to have the 4-year cycle top. This is what you believe in. Well, as you can see, the base case for our price predictions has gone up a bit. In that yellow to orange zone, you can see those prices 113 to 243K. Again, I'm looking at the yellow to the orange. 113 to 243. What's curious to me about that is the 3618 is right there at 208,000, and even the 4236 fib extension is at 241. Now, if we do get a 4-year cycle and by the end of next year we are up here, guys, I am selling if we're in that orange zone. This is just me. I'm not looking to wait and see if we get up here. Now, I'm going to go into 2 more charts for you guys to keep an eye on. I'm not going to wait for the red zones, probably. It depends on Bitcoin dominance. But if by the end of the next year, if we do have a 4-year cycle, we are up at those higher fib extensions, the 3618 or the 4236, then hey, we might get into the high hundreds, low 200s. Again, we'll see. Now, the last area I talked about is the average from the halving. Okay, right here, August. Let's take a look at August. Now, I've just been talking about how, August and September typically sucks for markets. There's something I saw where the S&P 500's like only ever topped once in July, but you never know. Times could be different. But July to September, for the most part, has sucked. Now, let's say that changes again. We're just playing with it here. Let's say August next year. What do we got from the yellow to the orange? 100,000 to 223. Again, that puts us at our fib extensions that we looked at. The 1618 to the 3618. Okay? Again, if we go to August, we're looking at the yellow to the orange. 104,000, go up to the orange, look at the number on the right, to 225. Okay, we would be within this range here. And so that even lines up with having an early top. Whether we top closer to here or here, we're still kind of in this range. And to close this out, the 2 charts I'm going to be watching to see are one, and you got to take this one off log if you do, it's the tether dominance. And if you're wondering what's tether dominance, what is dominance, by the way? So all these videos on YouTube about dominance. Tether always has a value around $1. So when we get in volatile times, people convert their crypto to Tether to keep its value. And as the value increases, we get away from the local tops. And when we have the local tops, you'll see that follow this trend line. We've had all our tops. The 2017 top, I don't know why that's over there, but it's right here. The 2019 mid-cycle top that we talked about a bit earlier. The top before the COVID dump, that was right here. Next, we're going to look at these 3 tops. Okay, the first Bitcoin top 21, second Bitcoin top, and then the most recent one in March. So my base case recently is that, we've been in this uptrend. We've been in a downtrend with greed to fear, going sideways to a downtrend in alt season. Again, we're going to put on our bearish hats for a second. But we've been in this uptrend. higher highs, higher lows, and I wouldn't doubt if it comes down a little bit. I'm expecting something around this zero point 0.5 range before it comes back down. And the reason why is whether going from the top to the bottom, a lot of assets do this. They'll go up, they'll have a 50% correction, and then they blast off further, or they'll get rejected off it. You can see we went to this peak, and overall the 0.5 was the most common area that this honored. Yes, we got down to the 382. Now inversely, came all the way down to the trend line, and again, this fib I just drew from the prior high to the prior low. But we wicked up to the 0.5. I'm wondering if we close near there. And maybe we get an opposite wick of like what we had here. We get up to the 618, maybe a wick, and then boom, come back down. I don't know when. I have this drawn out for later this year. We'll see. But unless tether dominance is getting here, then, you know, the next stop isn't soon, which isn't a bad thing, isn't a total reason to be bearish. It's a reason to look for value, like I talked about. Make a plan, a dollar cost averaging strategy plan. And then the other thing to watch is Bitcoin dominance. Again, when we get more volatile, higher percent of the overall crypto market goes into Bitcoin. So Tether, 5.6% of all money in crypto is in Tether. Bitcoin, 57.13% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. And when the dominance tanks, which can happen for a month or so, you can see 4 weeks. When dominance tanked, that was the top. That's when altcoins exploded. 10, 20, 50x, whatever. We had like almost 2 months, but it's more like a month and a half. When dominance tanked, boom, alts exploded. I've made the case that we've had this convergence, you know, from this trend line descending, hit that point, this trend line, you know, that tapped and then honored back here. And there's some stuff it hits back there too. I know it's not perfect. And it's like, okay, where does this all meet? It all meets around this 57, 58%. That's been my base case for where dominance needs to get to before at any moment it could fall. Okay, I would not be surprised to see it get up to the 60% level. Okay, I don't think, me personally, I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to get up into the low 70s. Again, I could be wrong. But this has been my base case where at any time we hit this level and get above it, that at any moment thereafter, we could get an alt season. It's been my base case. And again, you can take a look at right here in 2021, it did not get as high as it was before. Now, part of the reason is there's more altcoins hitting the market, so we're going to have more money diluted from going into Bitcoin. At least for now, that's what the trend's showing. But dominance did not get as high. Now, again, it's like 95%. It's ridiculous. Okay. I don't think we'll ever see that again, unless all the altcoins die. But it only got up, you know, after it fell, it kind of spiked and up just to this level where it had its real first significant level of support and resistance. Okay. Now, after dominance fell last time, where has been the support and resistance? Well, it had support here. Okay, and then it had resistance here. So that's why I'm eyeing, at least, you know, you can see there's resistance at this level. That's why I'm eyeing at most like 65%, but I'm eyeing that range in here as the possible top. So we'll see. At any moment, all season could happen. And when it goes, guys, we have, as you can see, 1 to 2 months to take profits. If you're lucky enough to choose the right altcoins, Bitcoin mining stocks, we have 1 to 2 months to choose. Or to take profits if you chose the right ones. So I hope you guys do make some great profits whenever the next alt season is, whether it's later this year, you know, August next year, average, or 4-year cycle, whenever. Okay? None of those things have to happen, by the way. Every cycle, different things happen. But if you are here, it's because you are looking to profit from crypto. And if you're doing your research and you believe in crypto, again, we've gone over ways to get good value. If I'm taking a look at Chainlink, it's an altcoin I really like. Okay, right now, that looks like crap. If we throw on our buy sell signal, we haven't had a buy signal on the weekly. If I want to be greedy, look at the daily. I haven't even had one there. Okay, let's take this off. Stochastic RSI. There's a couple ways I look at it. Okay, now it looks kind of bearish here, just like Bitcoin. So again, we're missing confirmation on a couple areas. I like the weekly, and right now the orange is over the blue, so I'm waiting. I don't need to get the exact bottom, guys. If I get 80-90% of the profits, I'm happy. I don't need to get 100% of the profits from bottom to top. Again, it's a mindset. Think about this. Would you rather risk getting the bottom and catch a falling knife, or eat out 70% of the profits? That's one way to look at it. So moving average wise, we're at resistance, no good value. Again, if you want a dollar cost average in moving average wise, you can. But I'm waiting for a buy signal. I'm waiting for the stochastic RSI to flip bullish. A couple of things that I personally watch for. Okay, but if you're like, hey, that's the lowest value we've had in a while, I'm going to put some money in regardless, that's fine too. And I do that as well sometimes. So anyways, I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Again, I try to answer the essential questions I have when I watch other videos and analysis on YouTube. And I want to bring that data, that analysis to you guys. Again, I'm not in this to make money or views. The main reason I'm doing this is to, one, double check my own investment strategies, because it's good to externally process. But two, offer that up to some of you guys, because I've made money off the last two cycles by having this perspective of treating fear and greed as an indicator, and by having good dollar cost averaging strategies. Now, everyone, most people look like a genius when everything's going up overall, okay? So I'm not trying to say I'm more special than anyone else out there, but I have made profits from it, and I want to share that with you guys. And I'm just going to give you the analysis that I see that I feel is lacking from most people out there. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll put out a Bitcoin mining stock video early tomorrow morning, and then I'll do the the Mag 7 stock video, go over stocks, stock analysis, Thursday or Friday. So anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day.